So we are here with Steve Young today at the California Institute of Integral Studies. Steve, I wanted to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule these days.
Right.
No, I'm joking, but you recently got out of the whole rat race, not certain rat race, but the whole machine, right? A certain kind of machine that was...
War Machine.
That's right, a war machine. Do you want to
Very
tell
much
us what happened and then give us maybe a little backstory to what you saw, maybe why you wanted to get away from this war machine, this something that's perpetuating, weapons of that for offense like tanks and stuff like this. You want to explain what you were doing a little bit in detail and then kind of a little bit of the backstory working into where you're at right now.
Sure. I worked for BAE Systems for 5 years, and we
British
Aerospace Engineering.
Aerospace Engineering.
Yeah, originally it's so British Defense Company, which has different groups as far as I was specifically worked for the North American group.
Okay.
And they a few years ago acquired United Defense, which was also a major and worldwide defense company.
Yeah.
And in the business of engineering and testing combat vehicles, such as the Bradleys. That was that was the bread and butter of United Defense / BAE Systems. So, let's see, my job there was, I was a mechanical test technician.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked specifically in a component test lab where basically it's a lot like Mythbusters. We sat in a lab and we had tons of equipment in order to do life cycle tests, fatigue testing on different vehicle components.
Combat vehicles? Or
Yes. We did a little bit of commercial work, and even before we were acquired by BAE, we did much more commercial work, especially for companies like Applied Materials and Lam Research.
When you were working on this equipment for these vehicles, maybe with some of your colleagues, coworkers, did you guys ever kind of get deep into what this was all for? Like, what are we making these things for? What are we helping these things get better at? Do you guys ever have those kind of conversations, or we're just here to do something and that's that? Is that how it was?
Yeah, it was more so, I think there was an underlying understanding that, you were working for a big corporation that was a huge cog within the war machine.
Okay.
So there wasn't a whole lot of talk. We're talking about a company that is predominantly right-wing conservative, full of right-wing conservative individuals. And for an individual like me, who leans, much more left than these guys do, it was at times could be uncomfortable with conversations that came up.
Yeah.
It seems like often that the higher up executives in these defense companies also have been involved in politics and they kind of just go back and forth.
Sure.
I mean, Dick Cheney is the most famous example of that. But
and Halliburton and
right.
Contracts with.
Right. So there's it seems that industry, especially the military industries, have been in cahoots with government for quite a while.
Oh yeah, especially with respect to defense corporations. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. There was specifically there was some technology within one of our vehicles, and I think there was an Israeli company that. So specifically, there was a fire extinguishing system within the vehicle and fire sensors, namely the sensors. Israeli company kicked ass. Their sensors worked no problem. But the American or the company who we had our sensors installed from, their sensors didn't work all that great.
Okay.
So we're talking about soldiers, being
lives at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the equipment wasn't that great. So we had done several tests and determined that the Israeli company, they had the goods, right?
Yeah.
And in the end, they still decided to go with the original company because
Was it cheaper?
Political.
because it was political. I don't know that it was so much
It was
cheaper,
political.
but people were in bed with one another.
Yeah.
So you have lobbying going
Exactly.
on within.
And that's all connected to money, right?
I'd imagine, sure.
Where how at the end of the day, it's the war machine's a part of what? Is there a bigger machine going on? A bigger ism? Is there a bigger something that's
Well, why do we
Maintaining
continually?
it all.
Why do the Western industrialized nations continually need to wage war? It seems like there is some sort of economic need, to produce all these machines that then get destroyed and need to be rebuilt. I mean, it's an economic engine in a way.
when did you? Okay.
So I mean, it's
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's. I think I just read that article on Kai's article on colonialism,
Yeah,
and imperialism.
I read that.
I think you can make the connection that, as a country, the U.S. needs to assert themselves in a global way, so that we can snatch up resources from other
Yeah.
countries in order to keep our growth.
to keep living the way we live, which
Right.
is, I think, what was the average? I went on that ecological footprint site. If everybody lived like someone in the U.S. on average,
we should link that on this video.
we
Yeah.
could do that. Yeah,
You can measure your own footprint.
I think
Yeah.
we need about.
I'm at 7.3 Earths right now.
Wow.
I was at
I was at
5.
five,
Yeah,
yeah.
we were both at 5. I think
Probably because you have a car.
I do have a vehicle,
That's what that
and I
is.
eat
yeah.
a lot of meat.
that will do it too.
I think that's a huge component.
So overall, yes, the average American is wasting. Not even the average American, but other westernized kind of. But it's
Mostly American.
mostly American.
Sure. I mean, we eat more meat than anybody else. We drive more. We have more cars. Drive further
Yeah.
to and from work. Less public transportation.
Do you think it could have been done anywhere else geographically, or was it the geography that led this wavelength of big, open spaces, this
Definitely.
kind of mentality? We can just drive in our big car, eat our red meat, and throw away. I don't know. What is that
It's
part of it?
manifest
It's-
destiny. It's like
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, God told us to come over to this new land, kick out the natives, and exploit it for economic profit.
Expropriation.
So,
Yeah.
but when you say God, I mean, we're gonna have some atheist viewers that are going, "What the
God as a socio-cultural
Okay.
influence,
There you
like
go.
the idea of God has
Okay.
material effects in the world because
Yeah,
people
yeah.
believe in it.
Yeah.
So whether or not you think that belief is valid, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. Yeah, that's the culture,
Yeah.
isn't it? Culture
That's-
and so that's the interior we space. That's kind of moving along. It wants to happen back in the day. They wanted to move along, but it developed again through similar stages, but in different geography, which led to ultimately different results. And here we are.
Yeah.
Supposed leaders of the free world, whatever that means, when we're trying to maintain peace by sending more offense somewhere else.
Under the
and
guise
we're-
of maintaining
And we're
peace,
rewarding.
right?
We're giving our president Nobel Peace Prize. Why we're still. So,
Yeah,
Increasing troop levels.
Yeah, we're
Oh, yeah.
increasing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's debatable. I don't know, but
So much goes on behind the scenes, like you're saying, these deals that are done between lobbyists and members of Congress and these defense contractors that end up having there's a political influence on how soldiers fight wars. And
Unfortunately, yeah.
the soldiers are trying to do their job, and for the most part, in my experience in talking to members of the military, they don't want to talk about politics. They have a job to do, right? And they try to separate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, even when I was in the military, it was, just go in and get the job done. You don't want to.
Right.
Because I was so. I don't know, that I should have ever joined the military.
Which
branch? I was in the Navy.
if you're idealistic, I mean, you're a critical thinker, deep thinker. Is it wise to join the military right now for you? No. What do you say?
I don't.
Well, what was it that drove you to join originally?
My dad, my father.
Oh, was he in the
He
military?
was a 20-year veteran, and his father, my grandfather, was also, I think, like a 10-year vet. He was in the Korean War.
Some people.